how make it happen is killing us. Now, the folks in our communities, they already carry inside of themselves what we all long for. They already carry belonging and rest and authenticity. So, as leaders of nonconformist communities, that stuff emerging is not something that we have to force. What we do is we create the conditions in which what is already in us and in our communities, in which it will emerge. So my wife and I bought our first house in a part of LA that had once been orange groves. So lots of houses had orange trees, but our tree was 50 years old, but it was only 6 feet tall, and we only got 2 oranges a year. It was a pitiful tree. So I gave it a chance before tearing it out. I cleared away all of the overgrowth that might block the sunlight, and I loosened up the soil around the base, and I set some fertilizer spikes, and I put a hose at the base of the tree, and I put it on a very low soak, and I left it there for a month. Well, within 6 months, that 6-foot tree was 25 feet tall. It was as wide as it was tall, and we had so many oranges. We went out and bought an electric juicer and had orange juice every day. Now that tree became a morality tale for me, telling me that what we need to become our truest selves is already in us. All we need is the environment in which what is in us can emerge. We are, every one of us, carriers of the divine light. So in this episode, how do we lead those kinds of communities? How do we lead that way? How do we build communities built on different doctrines, not the late-stage capitalism ones? Well, again, our communities already have in them what they need to become that. Our job as leaders is the environment. And what that does is it changes our roles, changes what we do, changes how we think. If what people need is already in them, because we are, every one of us, carriers of the inner divine, our roles are not what they become when we are serving the doctrines of late-stage capitalism. In that world, leaders are can-do. Leaders are make it happen, which, by the way, I carry inside me. Can do, make it happen, that's my love language. So you got to filter what I'm about to say through that. I do make it happen without even noticing that I'm doing it. But repeatedly through the years, I have had to call myself back. That is not the gig. It is if I want to build a late-stage capitalism community, but not if I want to build a nonconformist community. So, a few metaphors that help me think about my role. The first, a gardener. Our roles shift from driver of results to tender of soil, from extracting outcomes to cultivating conditions. More farmer, gardener, orchard keeper, less CEO, strategist, empire builder. Here's another metaphor, midwives. That's the one I used a lot with our staff and our community through the years. Our role shifts from creator of life to companion at birth, from controlling the timing to attending what is emerging, from forcing outcomes to steady presence and care. More midwife, more birth partner, less engineer, less manager of results. Now, in both of those metaphors, what happens because it's already there to happen. Growth happens because growth is already in us, because we are, every one of us, carriers of the divine. Our job as leaders is to be present and to create the environment for the divine already in us to do what it does. Now, here's the thing. That kind of leading is not really a skill in a manual kind of thing. Let me see here. So tab A, slot B. Yep, now we have it. Authentic community. No. Before we can create that environment where new things emerge, that environment has to begin to take shape inside of us. What's inside of us shapes what we then create, which means that our work begins with excavating our own souls. We start with our own interior state of being. Authenticity is a state of being, as is non-anxiousness, and allowing tension without jumping in to fix, and creating room for doubts and for not knowing. Those happen in us before we can create the environment for others. You've probably heard the admonition that we leaders are not responsible for outcomes in other people's lives. Well, I heard that when I was very young, but I couldn't see how to get there. What got me there, though, was soaking long enough in the different doctrine that we are, every one of us, carriers of the divine. That plus some pain. The inner divine drives outcomes, not me. My job, gardener, midwife. Now, let's be honest. We're Americans. We do live in the time of late-stage capitalism. The doctrines are in us, which means that one of our most alluring temptations is to get shit done, make it happen, plan our work, work our plan. It's in us. Performance is in us. Producing and accomplishing is in us. It's how we prove our value, hustle and efficiency and measurable outcomes. And did I mention that stuff is in me? I love that stuff. But I'm older now, and I'm wiser now, and the doctrines of late-stage capitalism and the frenetic lives that we live serving those doctrines were killing us. They are very effective, I found, helping us hide from our own internal awareness. They are really good at blinding us to our anxieties. They will do a great job of distracting us from our fear and from our doubts. They will hide from us the compulsive quest that we are on to be okay and to belong and to prove our worth. All the pressures of those doctrines, all the manufactured inadequacy and all the manufactured urgency is great at hiding from us our own uncertainties and our own vulnerabilities. Great at crowding out what those uncertainties want to birth inside of us. The wisdom that comes as we grapple with those things, the depth and the soul that comes to us. So again, our work as leaders of these kinds of communities begins by excavating our own souls. And I've mentioned before, check out the quick guide section on my website. There's a lot there. So one more point about how we lead in this historical moment, during this time in which Western religion is being fundamentally deconstructed. Nonconformist communities, by definition, are not communities founded on models. We have no blueprints. We have no body of experience to draw from. In effect, we are leading without knowing where we're going. So when I saw a book with that title, I knew I had to read it. And it was a great framework. It helped explain so much of what we'd gone through together. The book's titled, How to Lead When You Don't Know Where You're Going, Susan Beaumont. When a society or a religion is in an in-between place, we are no longer where we were, we are not yet where we're going to be. How do we lead in that liminal space? Well, can do, make it happen, doesn't cut it there. We don't have clear, decisive answers because we just don't know. If we keep doing make it happen, we're only going to build the way things were built. We won't build for the way things will be. So these different doctrines that we have been talking about, these different skills for leading, beginning with our own internal work, they are scary, but they're necessary because that's how we lead during these in-between moments in history. Also, non-anxious presence. That is so hard because uncertainty just does make us anxious, but also essential if we're going to lead during these in-between moments in history. Also, leading together, drawing from collective wisdom. It's not how late-stage capitalism leaders lead. It's actually inefficient. But when we are leading during an in-between moment in history, it is essential. Allowing and seeking and surfacing ambiguity and questions and fears. That's not how we learn to lead, but again, essential. Different doctrines, different leadership strategies, different spiritual communities. That's the point of this whole project. Okay, that's the series. Late-stage capitalism is built on a set of doctrines, and the world that we are building on those doctrines is killing us, especially killing our spiritual communities. But there are different doctrines, and we can create communities that work on those, and they work the way human beings work. They can be communities of belonging and rest, communities of authenticity, communities that are not following the constant drumbeat of manufactured inadequacy, not living the frenetic lives that will alleviate that sense of inadequacy. And again, the most important of those different doctrines, we are, every one of us, carriers of the inner divine. Thank you, Desmond Tutu. That was the biggest shift in my own leadership, when that truth began to settle inside of me. That people in our communities are, every one of them, carriers of the divine. They don't need us to lead them. Not the way I learned to lead. What they need is the same thing I need. They need the environment in which what is already in us does what it does. Emerge, grow into, and transform. Midwives and gardeners, friends. Our communities don't need us to manufacture oranges. They need us to tend the soil. So let's lead that way. Well, I've enjoyed doing this series. I hope you have too. If you'd like to get notified when I start the next one, go ahead, subscribe.